The Riemann Zeta function is defined by a deceptively simple sum. For each positive real number s greater than 1, you add up 1 over 1 to the s, plus 1 over 2 to the s, plus 1 over 3 to the s, and so on through every positive integer. The result is a finite number that depends on s. At s equal to 2, this sum equals pi squared over 6. At s equal to 4, it equals pi to the 4th over 90. At every positive even integer, the answer is a rational multiple of the corresponding power of pi. This pattern has been completely understood since the 18th century. But at s equal to 3, 5, 7, the odd integers, no such formula is known. The value at 3 was only proved irrational in 1978, and it still has no known connection to pi. The same is true for every odd integer beyond 3. In this video, we are going to derive a single integral formula that represents the zeta function at all positive integers simultaneously. We will derive it twice, first using Riemann's classical approach from 1859, which relies on a technique from integral transforms, and then using a second independent path that starts from the locations of the zeros of certain infinite products. Both derivations arrive at the same formula, but the second one reveals from within the derivation itself exactly why even and odd integers behave differently. We begin with Riemann's approach. The key ingredient is the gamma function, which is the continuous extension of the factorial. For any complex number s with positive real part, the gamma function is defined by the integral from 0 to infinity of t raised to s minus 1 multiplied by the decaying exponential in t. This integral converges absolutely, and it equals s minus 1 factorial when s is a positive integer. The first move is purely algebraic. In the gamma integral, substitute t by the product of n and t, where n is any positive integer. After this substitution, the factor n to the power s comes out in front of the integral, and the remaining integral is the same gamma integral again. So we have an identity. The gamma function at s divided by n to the power s equals the integral from 0 to infinity of t to the s minus 1 times e to the power of negative n times t. That identity holds for each fixed n. Now, sum both sides over all positive integers n, from 1 to infinity. On the left side, the sum of 1 over n to the s is exactly the zeta function at s, so the left side becomes the product of the gamma function and the zeta function. On the right side, the sum and the integral exchange order. This is justified by absolute convergence when s has real part greater than 1, and we get the integral of t to the s minus 1 multiplied by the sum over n of e to the power of negative n times t. That sum is a geometric series. The first term is e to the power of negative t, and the common ratio is also e to the power of negative t. A standard geometric series identity gives the sum as 1 over e to the power t minus 1, so the right side becomes the integral from 0 to infinity of t to the s minus 1 over e to the power t minus 1. Dividing both sides by the gamma function gives the result. The zeta function at s equals 1 over gamma at s times the integral from 0 to infinity of t to the s minus 1 over e to the power t minus 1. For a positive integer k, the gamma function at k equals k minus 1 factorial, so the formula specializes to. This is Riemann's integral representation of the zeta function. The derivation is clean and direct. But it does not by itself tell us why even values of k give rational multiples of pi to the power k, while odd values seem to resist any such simplification. That structural question is answered more naturally by the second approach. The second derivation starts from a very different place, the zeros of a family of functions defined by infinite products. Let us build this up carefully. Euler noticed that the sine function has zeros at every integer multiple of pi, at pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and their negatives. He proposed writing sine as an infinite product over those zeros. Pairing each positive 0 n pi with its negative counterpart, negative n pi, produces a quadratic factor, 1 minus x squared over n squared pi squared, and the product of all such factors over every positive integer n gives the sine of x divided by x. Euler then used this product to solve the Basel problem, the sum of 1 over n squared, by expanding the product as a series and comparing coefficients with the known Taylor series of sine. We are not going to follow that path,
because it does not generalize easily. Instead, we use the product idea more broadly.
For any integer k greater than or equal to 2, define a function by the following infinite product. When k equals 2 and we scale the variable by pi, this recovers Euler's product for sign. When k equals 3, it defines a new function with a different set of zeros arranged in a triangular pattern in the complex plane, and so on for each k. Now expand this product as a power series in Z. The product of all the factors 1 minus z to the k over n to the k, when expanded, starts with 1, and the next term is the negative of the sum over all n of z to the k over n to the k. Multiplying the entire thing by the leading z, the function starts at z, and the first correction is minus the sum of 1 over n to the k times z to the power k plus 1. That sum is exactly the zeta function at k, so the coefficient of z to the power k plus 1 in the Taylor expansion of this product is the negative of zeta of k. We now have zeta of k sitting as a specific Taylor coefficient. The task is to compute that same coefficient by a completely different root, one that does not assume any prior knowledge of zeta, and then equate the two. That second root goes through the gamma function.
The zeros of the function we defined lie at z equal to n times each of the kth roots of unity for every positive integer n. For k equal to 2, the roots of unity are just 1 and negative 1, so the zeros are the positive and negative integers. For k equal to 3, the roots of unity are 1, the complex number at 60 degrees above the real axis, and the complex number at 60 degrees below. So the zeros form equilateral triangles at each radius. There is a classical theorem, the Weierstrass factorisation theorem, that tells us how to express an entire function in terms of its zeros. Applying it here, the function we defined by the product turns out to be exactly equal to z divided by the product of k gamma functions, one for each of the kth roots of unity omega to the power j, where j runs from 0 to k minus 1. Each gamma function in this denominator has the form gamma of 1 minus omega to the j times z. The reason the exponential convergence factors that normally appear in Weierstrass products vanish here is that the sum of all kth roots of unity is 0. That cancellation is a basic property of roots of unity, and it makes this particular family of products especially clean. This identification is the bridge. We now have two expressions for the same function. One expression is the infinite product over integers, which gives zeta of k as a coefficient. The other is a ratio of gamma functions, which connects to integrals via the Euler definition of gamma.
To extract the coefficient of z to the k plus 1 from the gamma expression, we take the natural logarithm of the function. The logarithm converts the product in the denominator into a sum, and the coefficient of z to the power k in the logarithm corresponds to the coefficient of z to the power k plus 1 in the function itself. We expand the logarithm of each gamma factor as a Taylor series in z. The derivatives of the logarithm of gamma are called the Polygamma functions, and they are defined independently of zeta values. They are simply derivatives of the Euler integral. The Taylor series of the logarithm of gamma at 1 minus omega to the j times z involves the Polygamma functions evaluated at 1, multiplied by powers of omega to the j times z. When we sum this expansion over all j from 0 to k minus 1, something very specific happens. Each term in the expansion is a power of z multiplied by the sum of omega to the j times that power over all j. These sums are a standard object in algebra, the sum of the mth powers of all kth roots of unity. Only the term of degree exactly k survives, producing a contribution of k times the relevant Polygamma coefficient. That surviving coefficient involves the Polygamma function of order k minus 1, evaluated at 1. And the Polygamma functions at 1 have an integral representation that comes directly from differentiating the Euler gamma integral. The mth order Polygamma at 1 equals an alternating sign times the integral from 0 to infinity of t to the m over e to the t minus 1. After exponentiating the logarithm back to get the function itself, and keeping only the leading non-trivial term, the coefficient of z to the power k plus 1 on the gamma side works out. We now have both expressions for the coefficient of z to the power k plus 1 in the same function. The product expansion gives negative zeta of k. The gamma and Euler integral computation gives negative 1 over k minus 1 factorial times the integral. Since they are coefficients of the same term in the same function, they must be equal. Canceling the negative sign on both sides and rearranging gives zeta of k equals 1 over k minus 1 factorial times the integral from 0 to infinity of t to the k minus 1 over e to the t minus 1. This is the same formula Riemann derived. We have reached it by a completely different route, not through an integral transform of the Dirichlet series, but by matching Taylor coefficients of a function defined entirely by its zeros. The reason this second approach illuminates the even-odd question is that the derivation splits naturally according to the symmetry of the zeros. For even k, the zeros lie on the real line, and the function can be connected to sine and related elementary functions through additional structure. For odd k, the zeros have purely rotational symmetry in the complex plane, and no such connection to elementary functions exists. The integral is the most fundamental expression available, and it does not simplify further for odd k.
Let us now work through the three cases k equals 2, 3, and 4 in complete detail. We begin with k equals 2. Define the function as z times the infinite product over positive n of 1 minus c squared over n squared. Expanding algebraically, the coefficient of z cubed is the negative of the sum of 1 over n squared. This is zeta of 2, unknown for now. The zeros of this function are the positive and negative integers. The primitive second root of unity is -1, so the two roots of unity are 1 and -1. The gamma bridge gives us z divided by the product of gamma at 1 minus c and gamma at 1 plus c. To apply the root of unity filter, we substitute z and -z into the logarithm of gamma expansion and sum. The filter condition asks, what is the sum of -1 to the power m plus 1 to the power m? For any odd m, 1 and -1 cancel, and the sum is 0. For any even m, both terms equal 1, and the sum is 2, which equals k. So every odd degree term in the logarithm expansion vanishes. The first surviving term is at degree 2. Extracting that term from the Taylor expansion of the logarithm of gamma and multiplying by the factor of 2 from the filter, we get the coefficient of z squared in the combined logarithm as -2 times 1 over 2 factorial times the first order polygamma at 1. The factorials simplify, and the coefficient of z squared in the logarithm of the function is negative the trigamma function at 1. Exponentiating back to the function itself and extracting the z cubed coefficient, the analysis side gives negative the trigamma at 1. The trigamma function at 1 is computed from the integral formula for polygamma, equating the two expressions for the coefficient of z cubed, negative zeta of 2 from the product side, and negative the trigamma at 1 from the gamma side. We get zeta of 2 equals the trigamma at 1, which equals the integral from 0 to infinity of t over e to the t minus 1. To evaluate this integral explicitly, we expand 1 over e to the t minus 1 as a geometric series, e to the negative t plus e to the negative 2t, and so on. Integrating each term against t using the gamma integral identity, each term gives 1 over n squared times the gamma of 2, which is 1. Summing over all n recovers the zeta function at 2. Now k equal to 3. Define the function as z times the product over positive n of 1 minus z cubed over n cubed. The product expansion gives a coefficient of z to the fourth equal to the negative of the sum of 1 over n cubed, which is zeta of 3. The zeros have threefold symmetry. The primitive third root of unity, call it omega, satisfies omega cubed equal to 1, and 1 plus omega squared equals 0. The gamma branch gives z divided by the product of gamma at 1 minus z, gamma at 1 minus omega times z, and gamma at 1 minus omega squared times z. The exponential factors cancel because 1 plus omega squared is 0. For the root of unity filter, we check the sum of 1 to the m plus omega to the m plus omega squared to the m. When m is 1 or 2, this sum is 0 by the property that the sum of all third roots of unity is 0. When m equals 3, each term equals 1, since omega cubed is 1, and the sum is 3. So only terms of degree 3 survive in the logarithm expansion. Extracting the degree 3 term from the Taylor expansion of the logarithm of gamma, substituting the three roots of unity, multiplying by the factor of 3 from the filter, and simplifying the factorials, the coefficient of z cubed in the combined logarithm is -1/2 times the second order polygamma at 1.
Exponentiating and extracting the z to the fourth coefficient from the function, the analysis side gives the coefficient of z to the fourth as 1/2 times the second-order polygamma at 1. The second-order polygamma at 1 is given by its integral formula as -2 times the integral from 0 to infinity of t squared over e to the t minus 1. Substituting this in, the coefficient becomes negative the integral from 0 to infinity of t squared over e to the t minus 1. The negative sign means the analysis side coefficient of z to the fourth is negative that integral. Equating with the product side, which gave negative zeta of 3, and canceling the common negative sign, zeta of 3 equals 1/2 times the integral from 0 to infinity of t squared over e to the t minus 1.
Unlike the k equal to 2 case, this integral does not reduce to a simple multiple of pi cubed. The reason is rooted in the symmetry we just used. For k equal to 2, the zeros were on the real line, and the twofold symmetry connects the function to sine, which has an independently known Taylor series that introduces pi explicitly. For k equal to 3, the zeros are in the complex plane with threefold rotational symmetry, and there is no elementary function with these zeros and known rational coefficients. The integral is the end of the road.
Finally, k equal to 4. The function is z times the product over positive n of 1 minus z to the fourth over n to the fourth. The product expansion gives a coefficient of z to the fifth equal to the negative of zeta of 4. The primitive fourth root of unity is the imaginary unit I, which satisfies I to the fourth equal to 1. The four fourth roots of unity are 1, I, -1, and -I. The root of unity filter checks the sum of 1 plus I to the m plus -1 to the m plus -I to the m. For m equal to 1, 2, and 3, these sums are all 0 by cancellation. For m equal to 4, every term equals 1 and the sum is 4. So only degree 4 terms survive. Extracting the degree 4 term, multiplying by the factor of 4 from the filter, simplifying the factorials, the coefficient of z to the fourth in the combined logarithm involves the third-order polygamma at 1, with a coefficient of 1 over 6 after simplification. Exponentiating and extracting the z to the fifth coefficient, the analysis side gives -1/6 times the third-order polygamma at 1. The third-order polygamma at 1 is the integral from 0 to infinity of t cubed over e to the t minus 1. This follows directly from the general polygamma integral formula. Equating the two sides and solving for zeta of 4, it equals 1/6 times the integral from 0 to infinity of t cubed over e to the t minus 1. This matches the universal formula with k minus 1 factorial equal to 6. The integral from 0 to infinity evaluates to pi to the fourth over 15. This evaluation can be done by expanding 1 over e to the t minus 1 as a geometric series and integrating term by term. Each term contributes 1 over n to the fourth times 6, summing to 6 times zeta of 4, which gives a self-consistent equation whose solution is pi to the fourth over 15. Alternatively, it follows from contour integration. Either way, substituting back, which equals pi to the fourth over 90. The full result for all three cases, pi squared over 6 for k equal to 2, the integral for k equal to 3, and pi to the fourth over 90 for k equal to 4, all emerge from the same single derivation. The only difference between them is the symmetry of the zeros. Twofold and fourfold symmetry allow the function to connect to elementary functions through which pi enters. Threefold symmetry does not.